Hi, I'm your host Vasco Duarte. Welcome to the Scrum Master Toolbox podcast, where we share tips and tricks from Scrum Masters around the world. Every day, we bring you inspiring answers to important questions that all Scrum Masters face day after day. Hello everybody, welcome to our Success Thursday this week with Shoaib Naik. Hey Shoaib, welcome back.
Hey Vasco, thank you.
Absolutely. So Shoaib, on Thursdays, we dive into what success means. We want to understand how you look at your work, how you evaluate yourself, and of course, how you learn from that and move on. But before we dive into that, do tell us, what's your favorite retrospective format and why?
Okay, I think earlier I would have gone with the basic retro format, but there's one retro format that I really love. I call it because I have not created myself, but combined couple of retros I googled into one retro, and I call it a thank you retro or appreciation retro. So like I said earlier when we were speaking on Monday, I talked about myself that I worked in a project-based environment. What that means is after working for a while on a project, the team might be for a month we are working, for a couple of months we are working, or a year, and after the project finishes, depending on the kind of business we get from the client, then the team members move to other projects. So before the team moves to other project, the last retro of that project, I do this thank you retro. So there are only two columns in this. The first one is what did you value most about the work we have done together, and the second one is what would you take from this project to your new project. So the team, I keep two columns only in this because I want the team to spend less time on writing and more on sharing. So it's also the reason why I love it because it's more for the team and for us to wrap up the project on a good note, remembering that there are things that made us a great team and what we loved working with each other and what value we deliver to the client.
Yeah, I really like that for first, the idea that positive experiences beget even more positive experiences. And so it's really cool that you thought about this as kind of the goodbye retro, right? Like it's thank you and appreciation focused retro. And the other thing is, the questions that you had, well, what did you value the most? So my personal experience of the project, not necessarily, whatever the project achieved, but I'm an individual and I'm going to move to another project and I want to replicate some of that. What is that? What did I value the most? And also, what would you take from this project to the other? So kind of this, I think, like, reinforcing the lessons learned, right? Like I really like the fact that we had a shared whiteboard where we put questions every day that we would review in the daily or whatever that practice was, right? Like really focusing on the concrete aspects that I just want to copy from one project to the other, because that also helps the organization you work at to kind of keep that memory of what are the things that actually work, right?
Yes. Like, for example, the failure story I was talking, the team's behavior, this self-destruct behavior, when we talked about, I think on Tuesday we talked about it. The lessons that we learned there about user stories and velocity, the team took with them to another project. And then the feedback that I got, okay, at least we didn't struggle on this aspect. So that was good to learn that, you are learning on one project, implementing after that project finishes, implementing the learnings on other project. So this is as agile as you can get.
Absolutely. And it also has this power of keeping the knowledge with the people, right? Because one aspect of lessons learned is that they get somehow documented and stored somewhere.
Yes.
But that's not very effective in terms of conveying and influencing the practice. But when you, Shoaib, you say, I want to take this to the new project, then it's totally different because it doesn't even need to be documented. You know exactly how it was because it's still in your memory. And then you just go to the new project and you apply it. And that's actually one of the things that I find as Scrum Masters we need to be really mindful of, is that learning is conveyed through people's behavior, not through documents, right? Documents are there to help, right? It's like a memory aid, but they are not there to replace the most important part, which is, when Shoaib moves from one project to the other, he brings with him what he learned from the previous project. And it's very important for us to discuss that, right?
Yeah.
I was just thinking as we were discussing this retro that maybe we should have a retro for you that is the first of the new project, where you try to also use the same ideas and kind of create the project together around the stuff that has worked in the past. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that's an interesting idea, but that is something we do. We usually take the learnings from one project and put it in the next project, and we do have a retro. I think it's something on that lines where we talk about what are the expectations from the team members, what is the expectation from a Scrum Master, expectations from a product owner. Build your own Scrum Master. So this is also another common format, so that I get to know their expectations right away, and what impressions, what do they think a Scrum Master role is. As you know, a lot of people don't understand what this role exactly does. So that also gives a very nice picture. And then I also talk about them. Okay, what were the other projects? This worked on my project previously. We have this discussion where we put this foundation, set this foundation for a working agreement or ways of working agreement, whatever you want to call it, with the whole team. So this is a good solid foundation.
Yeah, absolutely. That's, by the way, great retro, the Build Your Own Scrum Master. I think we've mentioned it here on the podcast already. I'll put the link if that's the case so that people can find it easily. Shoaib, now we turn our attention to the Scrum Master role, of course, and how you define success. So tell us, what's success for you as a Scrum Master?
Okay, this took a while from the Scrum Master who was copying other Scrum Master to a Scrum Master who is defining success criteria for himself. I think this took a while, and a couple of books I had read. I think one book by Geoff Watts, Great Scrum Mastery. That was a book I really liked, and in that, I don't remember exactly which chapter, they said the best Scrum Master is which becomes redundant and is not needed after a particular period of time. So I consider that as my success criteria. And in the projects that I have worked on, it has actually happened with the teams. I have gone from since it's a project-based environment, and so I went from 100% to 20 to 25% Scrum Master. Just from full-fledged mentoring and teaching the team to just coaching and staying out there in the shadows while I see the team doing best. They can what they do the best. So I always aim to do this. And my second criteria after this is, have I enabled an environment for the team where it's safe to share and also deliver value? And how do I measure this, or what do I do to see that if this is happening? I just ask three things from my team members, maybe in a retro or when I speak with them one-on-one. Are you happy working in the project? Do you think that the things that you're doing is bringing value? And also the third thing I ask the client is, does the client feel he or she is getting value from the product or the solution we are building for them? Now, you might ask me, okay, Shoaib, these are just the questions, but how do you actually measure them? Are you happy working in the project? When I have one-on-ones with my team, or how I call it, health checks or retros, I just simply ask them questions. How do they collaborate, interact with each other, and how is it going in their team, and things like that. And as a Scrum Master, you also see when they talk with each other during different Scrum events or meetings or team events, you see how the bonding is happening. So you get to know these things from there. And the other thing, how does the client feel he or she is getting value from the product or solution? So during sprint reviews, of course, we get the feedback about the solution we are building from them, the MVP. We get direct feedback. When the product owner speaks with the client during release planning or product roadmap discussions, or we have these, sometimes it's quarterly, sometimes monthly client retrospective. So the client gives us feedback then. So it gives me an idea how the team and the client are doing.
Yeah, that's actually a great tip, to have a regular retrospective with the client, just to make sure that there's a space that is reserved for collecting feedback in case we are not getting enough feedback through, for example, sprint planning or sprint reviews. And also through the product owner, which you also mentioned, right? Like help the product owner understand that their role is also to collect that feedback, and they should always have some feedback questions when talking to the client, because that helps us. And the type of feedback we collect is also different with every stage of the project in your case, right? So it's very important to understand like what kind of feedback we need now, right? In the beginning, it might be about are we going in the right direction? In the end, it might be about performance or whatever. So it's very important to be deliberate, I guess is the word, about collecting that feedback.
There's another example for this about like how I collected feedback. It was one of the things we were doing, incident management process we had, and the client wasn't happy with the way we were handling incidents. Then I came in, I changed some things, changed some things in the process, how the incidents would be collected, processed by the team, and solved by the team. And then later to see, is the client actually now happy with the changed process and the changed ways of working regarding the incident management? So I sent them a short survey. I used to send it, I think quarterly, and it was a simple rating. Rate us 1 to 5. If it is less than 5, then please let us know what we need to improve. And we constantly, regularly got on an average a rating of 4.5 out of 5. So with some feedback as well, which helped us improve further. And
and that's I guess the point, right? Like,
yes,
because it's okay, don't give us a 5, but then give us feedback.
Yes,
right? Like tell us what's not working, what is failing from your perspective. That's a great tool. Well, thank you for sharing that, Shoaib.
Welcome, Vasco.
Part of a successful Scrum Master job is to help the product owner. Tomorrow we explore that critical role in Scrum, the product owner role. Tune in to learn about product owner anti-patterns, what you can do to help the product owner, and a real-life example of what a great product owner is and what made it so. Tomorrow on our Friday Product Owner episode. See you tomorrow. We really hope you liked our show. And if you did, why not rate this podcast on Stitcher or iTunes? Share this podcast and let other Scrum Masters know about this valuable resource for their work. Remember that sharing is caring.